Welcome back. You're still watching Your Story on the SABC News Channel. Now, these past 2 weeks, we've been taking a look at the updated Integrated Resource Plan, the IRP, released by Energy Minister Jeff Radebe. The IRP is now open for public comment, with just 2 weeks left for you to let your voice be heard regarding the plan for our energy mix to 2030. Now, one group that will be making their input shortly is the Black Energy Professionals Association, BEPA. I'm now joined in studio by the founding chairperson and director, Maponya Mhlarhi. Thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having us so that we can speak our mind.
All right, well, tell me about BEPA. Why did you think that an organization such as this, an association such as this, needed to be formed?
24 years on, the energy sector and the landscape is still not representative of the color of our country. And the majority of our people, actually, it was formed out of the Renewable Energy Program, IPP program, where we found ourselves participating, but then we were participating as empowerment partners instead of participating as developers of the project. We found ourselves now having to sell ourselves as Black people because of the barriers to entry that have been set up. So we said enough is enough. We have to speak in one voice to lobby policy, to lobby government, so that when we are developing programs such as this, that they can be developed for the people of South Africa, so that the normal person on the street can be able to participate. So we came together to organize ourselves to represent the voice of the Black people in the energy industry.
All right, well, your voice is definitely going to be heard. And I guess the thing about your association is that it represents most of the subsectors in the energy area. What was your first reaction when you saw the IRP?
You know, we looked at the RP and we said, when you are coming up with an RP, what is the ideal RP that you need to have? What does it take into account? You need to look at your security of supply. Will I be able to have the electricity when I want it? You need to look at the electricity needs to be affordable and accessible to all. You need to look at, does this RP, does the energy mix, the ones that we want to put in, job creation, industrialization, skills development, transformation, or are all those socio-economic activities or social ills that we need to take care of, are they taken into account? We need to look at the issue of safety and security. And we also need to look at the fact that we need to be proper global citizens and be responsible so that we can have a sustainable economy and a sustainable country. So that we need to look at the water use from an environmental point of view. Does it cover that? So you need to balance all of that. Not any particular source of energy can balance and cover all of that. But then we found that the RP, as it was released, which it needs to look at the least cost model. The least cost that came out was the renewable energies, including gas, and there was a policy change which included the INGA projects and the coal IPPs that were already signed off. But then we said, how do you live in a country whereby you want to remove 12,000 megawatts of coal and replace them with gas, which is imported, and replace them with hydro that is important? You can never have more than 19% of your reserves, of your reserve capacity being imported from other countries. So we said no, and then we found that the nuclear power was not included in the RP. And if you go back to the RP 2010, remember this RP is not a new RP, but then it's an update of RP 2010. The least cost plan of RP original 2010 was coal and nuclear. So, but then now we've completely taken them out. So the renewables were initially what they called a policy adjustment. And that's why you have them currently in the Eskom balance sheet costing on average R2.22. We do accept that in the recent round 4, the prices have dropped. But then you cannot, as a country, from an industrialization point of view, take yourself out of any of the energy resources. You need a little bit of coal, and then we need to say coal is a resource of South Africa. We are rich in coal. We need to be responsible citizens. How do I make sure that I use clean coal? Nuclear Nuclear is actually, when you're looking at decarbonization, it's actually the cleanest in the world. When you're looking at countries such as South Korea, you're looking at India, you're looking at all those countries. You look at the UAE in Dubai. Dubai has gas, an abundance of gas, an abundance of diesel, but then they are currently building 4 nuclear power plants. Why are they doing that? And then we also have to say, South Africa is not new to nuclear. So if you're saying you are taking out nuclear, are we saying we are willing as a country to destroy a whole industry that supports a lot of jobs? And from a job per megawatt point of view, it supports a lot of jobs. So even when we want to be sustainable, we want to carbonize, you have to do it with what they call a just transition in a responsible way.
So have you done the calculation? What's the ideal energy mix in your view?
For me, I would say for coal, I will not take out coal completely. For each and every coal that needs to be taken out, I'll replace it with clean coal. And some of the coal, I will also replace it with a little bit of modular reactors, because there is now, I mean, South Africa, you remember the pebble modular reactor research. We are advanced with that. Why don't we take that industry that was developed by us, and then when we are replacing some bit of coal with new coal, which is clean, but then some of it can be done with modular nuclear reactors. And you need to look at nuclear. I believe by 2030, we need to put at least 4,000 megawatts of nuclear into the system. Obviously, nuclear power plants take long. In our current RP, they say we need to start doing studies on whether we can put in nuclear or coal. How do we do studies on technologies that we are already versed on, that we already we are experts and leaders in? And the renewables have a place. I believe that they're key. They need to be put there. So I don't actually have a problem in terms of wind and solar, the amount that is there. But then maybe it can be toned down a little bit. And I do agree that it needs to be just looked at each and every year. The gas needs to really be reduced. You cannot have 8,000 megawatts by 2030. I think it's too much. In South Africa, we are very exposed to the rand-dollar movements. So I think it needs to be dropped to at least about 3,000 megawatts. And Inga Hydro, what are we saying about the DRC? The DRC, even though I believe South Africa should place itself in terms of from the SADC region, how do we support all one another? But then we need to put our security of supply first. Currently, the DRC is not stable. They are going for the election. We don't know what's going to happen. And Inga, it's 4,000 kilometers away from South Africa. There is so much infrastructure that needs to be put in place. I think 2030 is too early. I think it can be delayed by another 10 or 20 years.
All right, Mita, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I think we're going to definitely have to have you in studio again, particularly after your deliberations at Parliament, just to get some feedback on that.
Thank you very much. But then what is key is that in all that we do, we need to make sure that transformation happens in South Africa.
Fantastic. Thanks so much indeed for coming through.
No, thank you very much for having me.